Tom, Cleverley, Ben Foster, gents, it's great to have you join me here. I just want to know firstly, how are you guys doing on this unprecedented time in human history, really?
Go on, Clev, you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very strange time, obviously. Just trying to keep busy, keep fit wherever can, keep ticking over and be ready for when we call back into work, really. That's all you can do, spending a lot of time with the kids, activities, bike riding. So, yeah, it's getting things to do things that I wouldn't normally do. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to football.
Is Ben a bit of a motivator? Because I think we've all seen the video of him being like the drill instructor on the bikes.
Yeah, that's what you see is what you get, really. Is a positive energy around the place. He tries to get people going, and yeah, he's online sessions, and he even sends me some like personal watt bike challenges and stuff. It really gets you motivated.
Do you bring this on yourself, Ben? I mean, as a bit of a senior figure, I guess, in the team.
Yeah, I think like Clev said, that's just kind of who I am anyway. But going on to how I'm dealing with this, I'm actually having a really good time. I won't lie. We've been very lucky over in the UK. The weather at the last couple of weeks especially has been really, really good. We've had very little rain, and you're talking for this time of year, sort of 20, 22, 23 degrees some days. For me, which is fantastic. So I do a lot of cycling. You know, I'll go out on my bike, or luckily we live on like a farm, so we've got a lot of land anyway. So I'm having a good time. I won't lie. I'm just going out on my bike and just getting a bit of me time. But like Clev says, just even spending it with the family, you get to do so much stuff that you're not used to doing. You don't normally get the chance to do. It was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I got to spend the whole day with the family. It was a Friday, and normally we'd be in a hotel that day. So it's nice. You get to do these things, and I think we've got to look at the positives and appreciate those little things.
Yeah, it just went against type, because I remember an interview where Troy Deeney said Ben Foster doesn't train. Ben Foster will do it maybe once a week. He'll eat whatever. I can't remember the specifics, but Here you are going on TV, national TV, and leading the Watford cycling drills. It was a bit surprising, to tell the truth.
Well, what he meant with that was I don't actually train playing football. I don't do the football part of it.
Okay.
That's what he means. So I sort of spend a lot of time in the gym, really. So I'm always doing gym work, or I'm always doing a watt bike session, a big watt bike session. So the way I look at it is, if I work really hard on the watt bike and burn 1,000 calories, I can eat what I want. So it's win-win, really. So that's what he means, yeah.
The last game that I physically attended was the one against Liverpool. Great game, by the way. Great result, obviously. And for Tom, I know you missed a chunk of the season because of injury, and you'd only just kind of come back. So how important is it to get back to football and to finish the season for both of you, particularly Watford seemingly building momentum?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just got back in and around the squad. So having to miss even more months football is frustrating, obviously, but we all understand there's a bigger picture to this, and we have to do what we're told and respect the government rules and stuff like that. But yeah, it's my job now to be ready for when we are back to football, and I just can't wait to get back playing. Yeah.
Do you want to see the specific season finish? Do you have a say in this? What's your opinion?
I mean, it's totally out of our hands. I think for clarity for everyone, it helps if the season's finished, obviously. With Liverpool so far out ahead, and teams like Norwich, and there's 5 or 6 in a relegation battle, and the teams in the Championship, if they didn't come up, would obviously be unhappy. So yeah, it's not a very clear picture if the season doesn't end. So I think for players and fans' point of view, we would like some clarity and get it finished. But it's where you draw the line, how many restrictions you put on that, and does it ruin the end of the season? And there's a lot of questions still to be answered, really.
What's your take, Ben?
If you ask me, Clevs, I think we should end the season now. What the league standings where we are now, because we actually the last game we played, obviously against Liverpool. The game we beat Liverpool, that got us out of the bottom 3. So we've spent a huge chunk of the season in the bottom 3. Beat Liverpool, get out the bottom 3, and then it was all of a sudden it was kind of just like, oh wow, what a feeling, you know, incredible. So yeah, finish the season now with the standings that we are. We're sweet. We're 4 from bottom. We're not going to get relegated. Perfect for me.
Okay, understood. I can understand there's a personal investment in finishing the season now for Watford. But it'd be a shame because your momentum was building.
Oh, I'm joking. Obviously, I'm joking. I'm completely joking. I agree with Clevs. I don't know how they're going to do it, and it's something that thankfully we haven't got to decide or even think about too much. But I'd say like I say, for clarity, we should finish the season really.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at Watford as a whole, I mean, did you feel things were changing? The tide was turning. Obviously, you got the manager in. He's had time to bed in, implement his ideas and all of that, and something to build upon moving forward.
Yeah, the manager's been a massive breath of fresh air for the whole club. Really sort of shaken a lot of things up which needed shaking up. He's a great, not just a great manager, but a great bloke as well. He's really sort of respectful. He shows you respect and he demands it in return. And I think you saw that on the pitch from the players. The work rate from players was just so much higher than what it was before. And that's not players being lazy before. It's just somebody coming in and literally shaking you up and coming, come on, I need more from you. And that's what he did. And like I say, I think we just started to build momentum. We were getting into a nice little groove where everybody seemed to know what everybody else was doing. And I thought going forward, we were the ones looking likely to get out of the trouble.
He strikes me as a very good man motivator, like someone you want to run through a brick wall for. Who's the best motivator that you've both come across during your careers so far?
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, really. I think he's a fantastic man manager. He looks at every individual differently and sees the best, how he can get the best out of them. And on man management terms, he's the closest thing to Sir Alex that I've seen, really. And he was the master at it. He constantly adapted to like the modern day players. He knew which players to sort of give digs to. He knew which players to put an arm around, and he would get 10-15% extra out of every player. So I'd say that the both two managers we were talking about are top man managers, and yeah, obviously Sir Alex was the master at it.
Ben, you're in a position to agree or disagree there, obviously, given your history at Manchester United as well.
Yeah, totally agree. He does. He really does resemble with his man management skills. The way he's so good at sort of. It's just. I think it's a people skill. Do you know what I mean? He's got really good personable people skills, and he knows how to approach people. You know, he'll come to you. He'll shake your hand in the morning. He'll look you in the eye, and he'll ask you honest questions. And he actually cares what the answer is as well. It's not just sort of a throwaway question to sort of pass the time, or it's what you should do. It's genuinely he cares about what you're going through and your situation. And as a man, just not even as a footballer, just as a man, that kind of thing, you just can't help but admire and respect. And like you say, you just want to run through brick walls for him. For me, it's an absolute pleasure to come in and work with him every day. Talking
to you, seeing clips behind the scenes, and I've been in your presence, and you wouldn't have known I was there. It was at West Brom. Tony Pulis was there. We'd known him because I'd worked with him, and he invited us over. And I was in the canteen when you're having your lunch. And the way you're talking to everybody, I can imagine you becoming a manager one day. The way you are. I don't know if you have any interest in it, but just the way you talk and the way you...
Don't lie, Fuzzy.
I don't know. Do you know what? Something like that. I honestly never thought about doing anything like that in my life ever. All everybody ever says to me about being a manager is it's the most stressful job in the world. You know, it's all okay when you've got to look after yourself and you're your own business. But when you're the manager of... You're not even a manager of 25 senior players, you know, you're a manager of a football club. And the way Nigel does it, for example, he literally manages every single person at that football club. So in at the training ground, there might be 50, 60 people that work there, including players. And he goes around every single player, every single staff, every single canteen people, everybody, the cleaners, and he'll go and talk to them. And he spends so much time doing it. And like I say, when the results are the things that at the be-all and end-all, they're the things that matter, the results. So if we're in the bottom three and we're facing relegation, people like that might actually go and lose their job. And that sort of thing is, for me, it would absolutely stress me out. That would stress me out so much that these people's livelihoods depend on us getting results. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's something that I feel I've got the sort of man management skills and the motivation for, but I don't know if I need to introduce myself to that kind of level of pressure.
Maybe an assistant manager. That way you can still be friends, don't have to make the hard decisions, but you can motivate.
I can be the good guy. I can be the good cop, and then I'll need a bad cop. I'll have a Tony Pulis next to me who can do that.
Always works. Tom, what about yourself? Would you ever be interested in something like this? Would you have a dabble in management?
Yeah, definitely. And management or coaching, it's something I'm very passionate about. I want to take my badges in the next couple of years, and yeah, I'm always watching football if I'm not playing. So yeah, it's something I'm very interested in.
Shifting a little bit away from football, I just want to know what you guys have been up to during this quarantine lockdown period. I know you're doing the workouts and you're on the bikes, etc. How do you relax? I know obviously if you have kids, etc., it's a bit difficult, but are you watching anything on TV? Are you playing any games, video games and stuff?
I'm not really. No, you know what? I've just started watching the what's the thing on Netflix about the Tiger King, is it?
Oh, Tiger King. Yeah.
We just started watching that last night, which straight away has sort of hooked me in. And that's me. I know for a fact tonight when the kids have gone to bed, they'll be right. Come on, let's get a couple of episodes of this on. But no, like I say, luckily the weather's been so good here lately that we've just been spending most days in the garden. You know, you can sort of sit on the sofas, you can chill, you can put a bit of music on. I've been getting the barbecue on every night.
Nice.
It's been, like I say, we've been really blessed that this sort of virus has happened at this time of year. You know, it's never, you'd never want it to happen, but I think we've got to, like I say, look at the positives of it's happened coming into the summer months where the weather's a bit better. You know, if this would have happened in the winter, it would have been real bleak time for everybody. So we've got to look at the positive always.
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, today actually is pretty much my standard day for the last month. So I wake up, I do my session straight away, whether it be a run or a bike. Then I shower, take some rest for an hour. Fozzie knows I play a golf app called Golf Clash in my spare time. Then I'll be in the garden with the kids, either riding bikes or playing football. And then in the evenings, I've been doing a lot of quizzes with friends on Zoom, just to pass the time. And also Netflix, yeah. I'm on Money Heist and Narcos at the minute.
Which season of Money Heist are you on? Or part, as they call it?
I'm late on that, to be fair. I need to finish season 3 and then move on to the new one.
Okay. Yeah, I think the 4th one is the final one. I haven't finished it myself, but just be warned. That's all I can say. And Narcos, obviously, is also very, very, very good. Overall, you enjoying your time as well as much as Ben is?
Yeah, I can't complain. Obviously, I'm healthy and I'm active and things like that. But I do miss normality a little bit. Going out for a coffee and obviously going into training, going to restaurants.
The thing is, Clev loves football though. He absolutely loves it. He does. Like we're always the first one into training every day. Me and Tom are. So we're all say we start training at 11 o'clock. Me and Tom will get in at about 8 o'clock every day. So we'll go in, we'll have our breakfast together, and then we normally play a game called Countdown. It's like an English TV quiz.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we'll play maybe 1, 2, 3 games of Countdown a day, me and Clev, against each other. It's super competitive. Like, it's honestly, it means the world to both of us. So, like, if you lose, that's you in a mood for about 10 minutes until your next game. But yeah, I know I can just see Clev's. He loves being in, and like I say, when you were talking about being a manager there earlier, Clev's would be suited down to the ground to be a manager, an assistant manager, and a coach, something like that. He just loves the football environment, and it's great to see, to be fair.
Do you guys watch a lot of football when it was on, that is? Do you watch other leagues? Do you watch La Liga, Serie A, everything that's happening in the world?
Yeah, I do. I mean, probably the European football, not as much, but I liked, obviously, Premier League. And even the lower leagues in England as well. I've got a lot of friends, and the team I support are actually in League 2. So, yeah, I watch a lot of English football and obviously the big games in Europe, but not as much European League football.
Ben, are you invested in football across the globe as much as some other footballers are?
No, not really, no. No, I'm sort of, especially sort of English football, don't get me wrong, I'll keep up to date with that, mainly because the Fantasy Premier League.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I'm massive on the Fantasy Premier League. Love that. We've got the team sort of Fantasy Premier League and all that kind of stuff within the squad. I do one with my son. I've got one loads of leagues with all my friends, that kind of stuff. So I have to stay switched on to the Premier League, mainly for the fantasy Premier League. But when it comes to the foreign leagues, no, I don't really watch too much of that.
Who do you have in goal for your fantasy team, out of interest?
Definitely not myself. I don't need the added pressure of letting a goal in and then thinking that's my clean sheet bonus gone. I don't need that. So it's normally goalies my last resort. I'm spending top heavy on strikers, guaranteed, and then as many big hitters in midfield as I can. Salah, De Bruyne, them types. And then the goalie is a last kind of thought. I'm spending as minimum as I can. So maybe a 4.5 Alex McCarthy or somebody like that, really.
So it could be a reserve keeper, maybe, if desperate times call.
In desperate times, mate. Goalies, for me, they don't really win so many points for you. It's all about the strikers and midfielders. If you can get a good midfielder, you're winning.
This is such a rarity to hear goalkeepers say this. I've worked with a lot of goalkeepers. I don't think anyone has ever been as brutally honest as you are right now. I was chatting to Nigel Martin. I did a game with Nigel Martin, and we were talking about that game, England versus Greece, Beckham, the free kick. And Nigel said he went into the changing room and said, hey, I made about 3 or 4 saves in that match. If he hadn't made those saves, England wouldn't have gone to the World Cup. But everyone just
Nobody remembers it. Yeah, nobody remembers the saves. It's always the striker's goal. Everybody remembers the striker and the goal that went in that won it. It's just that's the cold, hard truth of being a goalie, I'm afraid.
Are you in agreement there, Tom? Obviously, as an outfield player.
Yes and no. Obviously, it is a fact that the strikers get all the credit and the goal scorers, but I think it'd be harsh not to give the goalkeepers credit. Fozzie's saved us countless points in the last 2 seasons, so yeah, I do respect the goalies a lot.
What were your impressions? What were your impressions of each other back in the day when you first met? Now, obviously, Tom, you're a fair bit younger than Ben. But you would have been a youth player. You might have looked up to him over at Manchester United. Do you guys remember anything from the early days?
Yeah, obviously we didn't cross over at Man United playing wise, but I think we spent some times injured together, actually.
In the reserves towards the end, Clevs. Come on, be honest.
Yeah. But no, I remember Fozzie, and yeah, I think did you have one of your knee injuries there?
Yeah, we did a rehab together, didn't we? I remember.
We did a rehab together, and I think that's where his passion for bikes might have started, actually.
It was. That's exactly where it started. Yeah, you look at Clevs now. Look how handsome he is, and look how sort of dashing he looks. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when we were going through this rehab together. He would have been sort of 19, 20 or something like that, and he looked like a little Manchester sort of. They call them over here chavs, yeah. They call
Okay. Yeah, you're calling him a chav.
Yeah, so he had this sort of skinhead, and he looked a bit sort of rough and ready, like So yeah, he's done well. He's blossomed. He's blossomed into a lovely butterfly as he's got older.
Yeah, you do look very debonair now. I mean, I still remember you were making a huge impact as a young player. But do you gents miss playing for a mega club like Manchester United? Because the only ones that can compete will be Real Madrid and Barcelona in terms of, fans and global appeal. But there's the added pressure of playing for those clubs.
Yeah, I think it has literally it's both ends of the spectrum. You can either, when times are good at a club like that, you're winning trophies, you're making appearances for the biggest club in the world. But when times are not so good, you've got the media pressure, the fans pressure, and yeah, I was maybe a bit too young to be able to deal with both ends of it too well. But no, it's something that I'm massively proud of to be tell my children when they grow up that I've played for a club of that size. But yeah, I'm really enjoying playing for Watford, and yeah, that's where I'm at in my career now.
Yeah, and obviously you had a previous stint at Watford beforehand as well, so it was a club you're familiar with. So you're putting throwback pictures on your Instagram, which, welcome to Instagram, by the way, finally. Took you long enough. Because I also remember, Ben, the water bottles. I mean, because it's Manchester United, it would be highlighted, wouldn't it? You were writing down which way the penalties are going, etc.
It was the iPad.
The iPad, yeah. So you were doing that, but I guess it's common practice, isn't it?
I think it was just the first time that somebody actually got to see the practice of how to sort of see the penalties, which way they go. And you normally, the way Tim Krul did it a few months ago against Tottenham in the FA Cup, it's the same sort of thing, really. You'll have a player's name and you'll have left, right, middle, whatever, his last few penalties. It's like I say, it's the same sort of thing. It's just that I think with the way that people were so sort of excited by all the new technology coming through, iPads, iPhones, that kind of stuff, and to see my goalie coach showing me a video of all these players, and then for me to go and save one straight away, it was just like gold dust for the media companies. They saw it and they were like, "Oh, let's run with this. This is incredible."
Yeah. Who are the people that really helped you during your younger days? Obviously, for you, I presume, more of a goalkeeping perspective, and for Tom, an outfielder.
Well, when I was at Man United, we obviously had Edwin van der Sar there, who, you know, for me personally, Man United didn't work out, which is fine because I think you still have to take the positives from it. You have to learn from all your experiences throughout your life, whether they're good or bad. But just to have a guy like Edwin van der Sar, not even as a footballer, just as a bloke, you know, he was so calm, so down to earth, so humble. And I think that translated out on the pitch at the same time. You know, he was incredible at that moment in time for Man United. I think he was the best goalkeeper in the world. He was absolutely incredible. So if you can't learn from people like Edwin van der Sar, then I think you're doing something a little bit wrong. So yeah, I'll always look back at my experience with Man United positively because I learned so much from it. Yeah.
What about yourself, Tom?
Yeah, obviously, Man United, we had the best role models in the first team to look up to. But growing up as a young player, we had a coach called Paul McGuinness and Eric Harrison. And I'd say Paul McGuinness probably had the biggest influence on my career growing up through the academy at Man United. I was with him under his guidance from 12 till about 19. So, yeah, they were very patient with me. And 17, 18, 19 was when I really started to kick on. And yeah, that's thanks to him, really.
Are you jealous of, I guess the word I have to use is easy, how easy they have it nowadays? I mean, did you have to do all the boot cleaning and all of that? Because I don't think that's very prevalent nowadays.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. They still do it at Watford, so they still have to do the jobs. But I think there's a lot more mourning nowadays. I think back when we had to do it, you just got given your job and you did it, and you did it on time, and you did it very well. Whereas now I think standards are dropping, and I think some young players now, they don't realise how important that other side of football is. I think Fozzie would agree that you can see a young player around the training ground and without even seeing his technical or talent, you could say he's got a chance. You don't know what level, but if he has the right attitude and timekeeping and things like that, he's got a chance in football, and that other side of football is more important than people think.
Whose boots did you clean?
We didn't have boots at Man United. We had cleaning changing rooms, physio rooms, pumping the balls. It was a rota of about 4 different jobs that 4 or 5 players would do for a couple of months at a time.
Did anybody tip you well?
No, we didn't actually.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Ben is laughing. I can see in the corner of my screen. I mean, I presume you got a good tip or something?
No, I didn't start football till late. I was a chef for 2 years when I left school, so I missed all the sort of youth team and all that reserve team kind of thing. So when I signed pro straight away and kind of went into the first team squad. So I didn't even get to see any of that, but I'll echo what Clev says. You know, you see some of the lads, I think they just don't value what they've got as much as what we used to do when we were younger. Even just, you know, we'll sometimes get young players come in with the first team, and it's almost like they don't have the respect for being in with the first team as what people used to have. And I think that's a bit of a shame. And I think, like Clev said, though, you do see the odd individual come around the place with a super professional, they're super sort of hard working, and honestly, it goes so far. It goes so much further than being the most technically gifted player in the world, because people want reliability. They want people that they know will turn up and do the right things every single day.
You're sounding like a very positive Roy Keane right about now.
A positive Roy Keane.
A positive Roy Keane, the way you're talking about characteristics and being reliable, etc., but not in a moany way. I'm not saying you're as negative as Roy Keane, but you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. I think if we could get a positive Roy Keane on the telly, we'd be smashing it. He'd be worth his weight in gold. That's what the nation needs right now, is a positive Roy Keane.
If you can convince him, to do that, I think that you'll be onto something. Maybe write a positive Roy Keane book or something. You'll be a millionaire.
If anybody could convince him, they're onto something, definitely.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Looking back and reflecting on your careers, obviously you would have crossed paths with some great players like, say, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, the debate always rages on who's the best Premier League player, and people have forgotten they're going to have a Premier League Hall of Fame, and which has obviously now been postponed because of what's happened. And I've been asking everyone I'm working with who should be the first two on the list. So who would you both opt for?
Whoa, go on, Clevs, you go first.
That is tough.
That is very tough. It's a very good question.
It's not a random one either. Obviously, you must have heard about the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah. My two. Well, first of all, the best player I've played with is Scholes, but I think Giggs would have to go for winning it 13 times, and they probably won't go to Man United. So maybe Henry or Shearer being the top goal scorer. For me, in my era, I would go Giggs, Henry.
Ben?
I'm going to have to go a goalkeeper just because it's goalkeeper union. So I'll go for Peter Cech, definitely. Still, I think one of the best goalies ever to have played in the Premier League. Him and his pomp at Chelsea was just, wow, what a goalie. Most clean sheet record, incredible goalie. And then for an outfield player, it's so tough because you're picking from a lot of very, very, very good players. But maybe Alan Shearer for me. I think if you're thinking of figureheads or people who you associate with the Premier League, for me, Alan Shearer just pops straight into my head.
I'm going to throw in another name. This is a bit abstract, but Sir Alex Ferguson. I know he never played in the Premier League, but he is a huge intrinsic part of the fabric of what the Premier League is and what Manchester United stands for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Again, if you think of the Premier League, like the best manager, Alex Ferguson, straight away. I think you could go through each position and do that. I think that might be a better way to start, maybe, is just do a manager and a goalie, defender, midfielder, striker to start with. I think that takes a lot of people's headaches out of the window.
But the headaches are the fun part of it. I'm sure even footballers have the debate amongst themselves, right? I'm sure footballers have had the chat about Ronaldo and Messi, for example.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I think a big one in this country is Scholes, Gerrard or Lampard as well. That debate rumbles.
Who would you go for, Clevs?
I'd go Scholes.
He's the best player I've ever seen live. He's the best player I've ever seen live.
Yeah.
Scholes? Yeah. Above,
Scholes.
say, a Cristiano Ronaldo or anything?
Yeah.
What made Paul Scholes so special for the both of you? And what made him not valued enough by England that at one point he was played out on left wing?
Yeah, incredible.
I mean, he was just 2 or 3 steps ahead of everything. He would never misplace a pass. He would just mentally torture you in the middle of the park. You'd think you were closing him down and he'd just zip it round the corner. And then to add to that, he was the best striker of a football I've ever seen, and I ever will see. So he tortured me a few times in training, but he was the master to learn from, really.
Yeah, he was effortless, wasn't he? Everything just came so naturally to him. Like I say, just like striking a ball. If you could see him strike a ball, he didn't miss any part of the ball. It was all full 100% contact with the ball. It was just, it was beautiful. He was a beautiful player to watch.
What's the greatest thing you ever saw Paul Scholes do? What springs to mind?
I've got a quick good story for this, actually. When I first signed for Man United, the goalie coach was Tony Coton. And it was my very, very first training session with the senior goalkeepers. So it was me, Tim Howard, Edward had just signed. And we were doing a little bit of a goalie session. And behind us, they were doing like a passing drill kind of thing on a full pitch. And it wasn't my turn. So I was just sort of browsing over there watching. And somebody played a ball into Paul Scholes and he hit it first time. He moved his body, hit it first time on the half volley, like a bullet, pinpoint to somebody out on the wing. And I remember seeing it and I went, I didn't even know I did it. I just went, whoa, like that. I've never seen anything like that before. And Tony Coton, who was the goalie coach, obviously, he was serving the goalie. So he had his back to it. And he just looked at me and he went, was it Scholesy? And I went, yeah. And he went, does it all the time, mate. Does it all the time. And that's, for me, encapsulate Paul Scholes. Just everybody knew. Anybody that played with him knows how special he was as a player.
Dom, most special thing you've seen Paul Scholes do?
Yeah, it's another good story, actually. One of his memorable volleys was at Bradford City, and I was actually at that game. I would have been about 10 years old. Beckham took the corner and Scholes scored the volley. So yeah, not at that point. I never thought I'd get to play with this guy, but yeah, it was the best goal I ever scored. I ever saw as a Bradford fan growing up. So yeah, it's a good one to remember.
Was he quiet in the training ground, etc.? Because obviously now he has a reputation of not being so quiet. He's very, very vocal on the television when he wants to be, but he never gave press interviews before this. And there's that story when he came out of retirement to play, he went down to his local shop and bought a pair of boots for about £20. Not the fancy £120 tier 1 boots, but the cheapest ones you could get.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fozzie will agree. It was a dressing room of a lot of big characters and a lot of well-respected characters. And then Giggsy and Scholes were a bit more quiet, but they were like the godfathers of the dressing room. They like ran the dressing room silently, and Scholes even more than Giggsy. He was just quiet, but yeah, he had massive respect from everyone.
Yeah, it wasn't a quietness from sort of being shy. It was just more of a quietness of they knew where they stood, they knew who they were as people, they knew who they were as players, and they just didn't need to do the talking because they had like Cliff says, they had so many players to do the talking for them, like Gary Neville, for example, who they could just trust to constantly keep talking 24/7, and he was happy to do that. So yeah, they were the quieter types, but like Cliff says, as soon as they opened their mouths, people shut up and listened, and that for me carries a lot of weight.
Yeah, I find it amazing because I saw Gary Neville on television via an online chat saying that the captaincy was rotated, I think, between him and Giggs just to keep everybody else quiet, everybody else happy. If you gave it to Ronaldo, you gave it to Rooney, then someone's going to kick off. So give it to the veterans, give it to the leaders in the dressing room, or the other leaders rather. Does that work? I mean,
well, everybody listened to him. Like you say, it's so crazy to look back on the senior players that they had, because they probably had a good 6-8 senior players, and they're all captains in their own right. Do you know what I mean? At any other clubs, they would have been a captain, and to have them all in one squad. But I think you had to understand the way it was, that you didn't need to be a captain with an armband. You know, you could still be the captain at any given time around the training ground, on the pitch, at any given moment. You could still be a captain, and I think that was an important part of the team that made it work so well.
Yeah, I think a good example, although probably not the best club for you, would be Carragher at Liverpool. Gerrard was the captain with the armband, but apparently Carragher was the enforcer, the one who talked a lot, which obviously he does now perfectly with Gary Neville.
Yeah.
Who's if you had to build, say, an 11-a-side team of all the players you're with, who would be captain of it? Who would be your pick for best captain?
Oh, go on, Clev. You go first. I'm going to need to think about that one.
That is going to need some thought.
I know you should have practiced with these questions. These are real sort of hard thinking.
That's on the spot. That's on the spot.
We like the spur of the moment sort of spontaneity of everything.
I'm trying to think. Do you know who was a really good captain, which is a bit of an answer you won't imagine? Fabian Delph. I played with him at Aston Villa. And I'm not sure if he was the actual captain at that point, but you could tell he's going to be a future captain somewhere. Rio was good. I thought he was in touch with the younger players, as well as being a senior player himself, and he was England captain and things like that. So, but to name one.
Yeah, I did like Gene. I like Gary Neville. I thought he was he just didn't care. He didn't care what anybody else thought at all. He was so headstrong and so insistent on doing everything right all the time. And he would just say whatever came into his head. But most of the time, it was all good. It was all sensible. And I like that about him, that he just did not care. Like you see him on the telly now, he opens his mouth and most of what comes out is sensible, isn't it? It's very sort of clean, easy to understand, easy to take in, good knowledge. One captain that I have played with who was incredible was Stephen Carr when I was at Birmingham. You remember they used to play the right back?
Yeah.
He was fantastic. He was absolutely like a leader of men. Like he's the kind of guy who, if we were in the war, you would definitely go to war for him because he was brilliant bloke and a brilliant captain.
I wasn't surprised actually to hear Fabian Delph, because I watched that Manchester City documentary, and you wouldn't think he'll be so vocal, not knowing him whatsoever. But when you see him behind the scenes, maybe it's because he's from Yorkshire. Maybe it's a Yorkshire lad sort of thing. I don't know. But he came across as someone who is not afraid to speak his mind. Doesn't matter if you're Sergio Aguero or not, or David Silva. He will say it.
Yeah, I actually grew up with Fabian at Bradford City, and we're from obviously the same town. And when I went back to Villa and saw him, I was quite shocked at how like vocal he was, even though he could have only been about 23 then. He was like the leader of the dressing room, and yeah, a real warrior and leader of men. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was to go on to be a good captain somewhere even now.
Yeah, and
I think these sort of players, and these are the sort of things that as fans you don't really get to see unless there's teams making a documentary, them sort of thing. But these sort of players are the reason why there's some players that stay at clubs for so long is because of who they are as a person. Do you know what I mean? What they offer to the team on the pitch might not be the same as what they offer to the team off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? And that, I think sometimes knowing a player's worth to the team is more important than knowing their value to the team. Do you know what I mean? Because of what they bring. They bring order, they bring respect, they make people do things right. And I think that is something like fans don't get to see, but it's such an important part of football nowadays.
Were there any players that you came across when you went to a new club that, or if someone came to the club that didn't meet the expectation, like you had a preconception of what they're going to be like, but they were nothing like that? For example, I worked with someone you both know, Vidic. And he was surprisingly quiet and soft-spoken. I spent a long period of time with him, over a week or so. And I was very taken aback. I did not think that this guy that would charge headfirst into a challenge would actually be quite quiet and soft-spoken. Has that ever happened to you before?
I think one of the a current player of ours, actually, another one I grew up with was Craig Cathcart. And in the youth team, he was so serious, quiet, kept himself to himself. And then I came back to Watford 3 years ago, and Craig's the joker of the dressing room. He's the one playing tricks. He's the one organising like meals out and stuff like that. So I was shocked to see Craig Cathcart 10 years later, and his like personality change. But yeah, you put us on the spot again. Really, I can't think of any other big shocks I've had.
I think just talking about Nemanja, like you said, Vidic, he was, again, off the pitch, he was fairly quiet, wasn't he, Nemanja?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
On the pitch, in training, that guy was a scary bloke, honestly.
Like, he smashed me in training once.
Horrible. Honestly, he did not care. And if we were playing a 5-a-side or 6-a-side or something like that, if you were on his team, I used to think, please don't be on Nemanja's team. Please don't. Because if we didn't win, if I let a goal in that he thinks I should have done better with, he was letting you know, and he would dig you out, and he was after everybody. Honestly, he was horrible in training. But again, off the pitch, completely different.
Yeah, it was a real big shock for me. And one of the first things you notice about him, when you're looking at him straight on, like I am right now, is his nose being about 3 inches to one side. And you're thinking, okay,
we've all got one of them. We've all got a conky nose. Come on, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yours is not to the degree of Nemanja Vidic. I mean, that one is full on facing a completely different direction. Literally around the corner. He can probably, if he had an eye there, he could see what's happening. That partnership, though, I mean, Vidic and Rio doesn't get any better than that in the Premier League, does it?
It's literally the dream. You've got the two extremes of defenders. You've got the most elegant, ball-playing, just taking it all in his stride sort of defender in Rio. And then you've got the absolute workhorse, dog, animal, will happily stick his face in front of a flying boot to stop the ball. It was literally a dream team. I think it was. I don't know if people will vote it as the most impressive centre-back pairing in the history of the Premier League, but for me, I think it probably is.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing that fans probably won't know is it was an absolute dream for a midfielder playing in front of those two, because nowadays in the Premier League, you've got clever number 10s always trying to get in pockets and things like that. And honestly, for 95 minutes, they would just say left, right to me as a midfielder. It just meant I didn't have to check for players like Silva and Ozil, who were really, really clever. They were just constant left rights all game, and I was always in the right position from their information. So it was a dream to play in front of them too.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine. Therefore, they've gone down in Manchester United folklore and history as one of the best partnerships of all time and some of the best players. Final few minutes with you, gents. So I touched on it earlier, but I need to know, because I tend to ask this to everybody. Would you go for Messi or Ronaldo if you had to have one on your side? Now, given your history, I know that you might be inclined to say one name, but what do you say?
The Foster household has always been Team Ronaldo. I think the beauty of Ronaldo is me and Clevs have seen how hard he works for it. And I think for me, for somebody to be that dedicated and that professional and work that hard for it, I think that is better than having the natural talent for me. I prefer to see that. I love to see, like, he was the first guy into training every day. He was the last one to finish training every day. He was the last one out on the training pitch. It was a nightmare for me because he always wanted to do extra shooting, always practicing free kicks, practicing shooting. So I was on the pitch even longer. But he was, honestly, it's just his dedication to it all for me is such a nice thing to see, and it's such a great, valuable lesson for youngsters coming through as well.
Hardest shot you faced? Does he rank up there?
Oh, the one of the hardest shots to save, because he's so good at putting. He can strike it the same part of his foot, but the littlest twist means he can either kick it straight or he can kick it so it does that. And them ones, horrible. They're finger breakers. Goalies call them finger breakers because they're there and then all of a sudden they're over there. And that last little movement when a ball's traveling at 80 miles per hour will break your finger.
I've done a lot of work with David James, and sadly, he was on the receiving end of that goal against Portsmouth. Was it Portsmouth? Yeah. The one which...
he just sort of went like that.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll ever live that down. Tom, yourself, Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi for me.
Really?
Yeah. I'm obviously massive respect for Ronaldo, but I went to 2 Champions League finals, one in Rome and one in Wembley, and it's the 2 best performances I've ever seen from a footballer live. And growing up watching him, I massively respect technical and naturally talented players like that, and he's the best for me.
All right, gents, my final thing I guess I have to say is, do you have a message for fans of Malaysia? I believe you've both been here with Manchester United, if I'm right. I think so. I know Ben was. I think Ben was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I met you. It was at the hotel downstairs.
Wow, that was what? That would have been what, 12, 11 years ago, maybe? No, 11, 12 years ago, yeah.
I emceed the launch of the kit. This was when it had the black, was it black? Yeah, the black V.
Yeah.
So I was the MC. It was a Nike event. And then...
Wow.
I met Rio there, and he was asking me to get the DJ to change the music. I was like, I don't know him, but he wasn't particularly happy. Have you not been here, Tom?
No, I've not been. I've not been.
Well, in any case, we would love to see both of you here. In Ben's case, again, do you have a message for the Malaysian fans or fans just around the globe who are going through this coronavirus pandemic?
For me, it's the same. I'll echo the same as what we're saying in this country is, just try and stay home as much as you can, stay safe as much as you can, but also just try and keep some sort of structure, some sort of timetable to your day, so you know what you're doing. You're something to stick to, so you're not just waking up at 11 in the morning and still staying in your pajamas all day. Yeah, just try and keep a structure, but also stay safe. Though it's so important to help everybody out at this moment in time.
Yeah, Tom. Sorry, my wife has just come in. Go on.
No, again, what Fozzie says, stay at home, stay safe, stay strict with the rules, and the sacrifices that we make now will all be worth it in the end, and we'll have a good time when we're all allowed back out and football's back on.
Yeah, hopefully I'll bring you some luck, because I think the 2 games I've seen were that draw against Arsenal where you scored, Tom, and obviously I was there for the game against Liverpool, so make me the guest of honor next time.
Yeah, you can come again, and we'll let us know. We'll sort you out without doubt. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Gents, thanks again so much for everything. I hope to see you again very, very soon, and keep up the good work. Keep on spreading the message of staying at home.
Thanks very much.
See you soon. Bye.
Guys, bye-bye.